Well, here we are again, out in the middle of nowhere. Long ways from the nearest town. Nothing to see here except snakes, scorpions, and our YouTube production studio where we make our movies and broadcast them all over the world on our big antenna. And looks like we got a Chevrolet this week. So let's roll the tape back to yesterday when we picked it up into the warehouse. And it was a lot cleaner too, needs a bath. Right at our warehouse is storage facility. Let's see what we're driving today. It appears we got ourselves a 2021 Chevrolet Trailblazer SUV. As you can see, it looks a bit different from the previous Trailblazers. They were a bit larger and had a big V8 engine under the hood. Under the hood, no V8 here. A tiny 1.3 liter engine putting out 155 horsepower. Hooked to a 9-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive. Fuel economy 26 in the city, 30 on the highway, they claim. If you don't like this, there's a base 1.2 liter, putting out 137 horsepower. Hooked to a CV automatic and 2-wheel drive. You don't see too many of those on YouTube. So how's the off-road capability of this vehicle? Well, we do get an all-wheel drive system, although it's primarily for the street. No locking differentials for serious rugged use. If I remember my spec sheet right, ground clearance is 7.5 inches. Barely adequate for off-roading. Might do, depending on the terrain. I don't know what the approach angle is, but there's a lot of bumper sticking out here. We do get a spare tire, that's good news. It's a small donut, but it's better than not getting a spare tire at all, which seems to be the case on many SUVs I've gotten lately. If you're going off-road, you got to have a spare tire of some sorts, unless you like walking. The closest competitor to the Chevy Trailblazer is the Jeep Renegade. We tested one of those this year. We'll have a link for that video at the end of this video. Just click on it and watch. And if we're looking at Chevy videos, we obviously can't afford this 2021 Mercedes-Benz at $133 grand, but I posted the link anyway, so you can watch it anyway. We can all dream, right? We'll be taking this off-road later on in the video. First, we're going to take a closer look at the Trailblazer, and later on do some city driving, get some fuel economy readings. One feature the Trailblazer has, but a lot of people don't know about, not only do the second row seats fold, but the passenger front seat folds too. Gives you a lot of room for hauling long stuff. I wonder how many people own these Trailblazers and don't know they can do this. Well, if you watch the video, you know now. Another feature I like about the Trailblazer, the doors come all the way down to the very bottom, like so. This keeps the rocker panels clean so you don't get dirt on your pants if you're driving in the mud, rain, or snow. Thank you, Chevrolet. Or should we be thanking the Koreans? According to this, it's assembled in Korea, but the engine and transmission's made in Mexico. So how does this work? Do they ship the engines and transmissions to Korea and they put everything together over there, or do they ship the car to Mexico without an engine or transmission and finish the assembly there? Don't know. The cabin's nothing fancy, but still looks pretty good to me, considering the price, which I'll show you in a minute. There's enough room in the second row for 2 adults and my storage box. We get a very simple gauge cluster, easy to read. Lots of useful information in between. A nice infotainment system that's very simple to use as well. Climate control, a couple knobs, a few buttons. Doesn't get much easier than that. A decent sized glove box with a small storage bin on top. The sun visors slide back and forth to keep the sun out of your face. Overall, I'm very impressed with the cabin. I have no complaints at all, especially considering the starting price of $19,995.95. 20 grand, okay? Finding one for 20 grand might be a problem though, especially if it's loaded like this one. I'm not going to go over all the options. The video would be too long to just say there's about $5,000 worth, and total tab $33,836. Wow. Knocked me over with a feather. This is loaded with everything. A lot of stuff we really don't need. I was going to say these sure are dinky headlights, but I guess they're really down here. Well, let's take them out in the dark and see what's what. It's dark enough. Let's see how these perform. Here we have the low beams on a wall 100 feet away, very bright. Not much height, but more than adequate. Go to high beam. Pretty decent thus far. Rear view camera picks up light pretty good in the dark. Here we have the high beams on the building 300 feet away. Lights up pretty good. Go to low beam. Almost reaches out. And whenever the key fob comes near the car, you get this Chevy decal that lights up on the ground. I don't know why. Must be impressing somebody. You know, to be honest, I didn't think I was going to like this vehicle. Thus far, I have nothing to complain about. So let's take it out and do some driving. See how that goes. And I see we have a sport mode here. You press this button. A sport mode and a tiny 1.3 liter engine. Interesting. In the normal mode, the power steering is light and quick. In the sport mode, it's heavy and quick. Take your pick. No complaints to register on that. This engine sounds like what it is, a little go-kart motor, but the pickup's not that bad and the transmission shifts pretty well. Shall we do a 0 to 60 run? Let's do it. Well, 0 to 40 was pretty impressive, 4.8 seconds, but the 0 to 60 time of 9.4 doesn't impress me on paper, but on the street this does have pretty good pickup and lots of low-end power and excellent throttle response, so it's not unpleasant to drive at all. Let's try it again, but this time we'll use the sport mode. Not much difference. Officially, I don't know what the turning circle is of this vehicle. I couldn't find it on a spec sheet, but I can tell you it's extremely wide, far wider than many full-size SUVs I've driven lately, as I will demonstrate on this road here. Look at this. Nowhere close. Now we got to back up. Go all the way back. Very, very wide turning circle. If you have to make a U-turn, be aware. We've been taking a lot of short 1 to 2 mile trips in heavy city traffic, so naturally the computer isn't showing a very good figure for our fuel economy, but we'll solve that problem. We're going out on the freeway, take a 100-mile trip, cruising around 75 miles per hour. Let's see what happens then. Reset. One thing I've noticed when driving this vehicle in heavy city traffic, an accident. And an idiot that's going to run out and get killed. Moron. Anyhow, getting back to what I was saying, I've noticed in heavy city traffic where I do a lot of braking, the brake pedal is very sensitive. All you have to do is barely touch it, the brakes engage. I think some people might use the word grabby. Now that's not a problem for me because I want brakes that stop right away when I want them to. It might be a bit overbearing for some people, but it's not a problem for me. Driving the Trailblazer on the freeway is very pleasant. The wind noise is very low, which is a surprise considering the boxy shape. And the ride quality is pretty smooth if you're on smooth pavement. If you're on rough pavement, you get a lot of rumbling coming up through the tires and suspension. Nothing serious, just enough to let you know this is a inexpensive $20,000 rig, not a $50,000 expensive rig. The steering ratio is pretty quick, more like a sports car than an SUV, so you have to pay attention. Slight turn of the wheel can put you in another lane. Don't be taking your eyes off the road or driving and texting on this vehicle. But I like the steering. I like a good responsive steering wheel, so not a problem for me. Now we're on some rougher pavement, and I can hear the rumbling coming up through the body. You might be able to hear it on the microphone. Then again, maybe not. That's really no big deal. By the way, earlier in the video when I was reviewing the price tag, I forgot to mention that air conditioning appears to be an extra option for around $600. So if you live in Alaska where you don't need air conditioning, you can save yourself $600 by not getting the air conditioning option. Traffic is pretty crowded this morning. I have to pass a lot of slowpoke trucks. So I think the fuel economy is going to be about 10% less than what it would be normally. Guess we'll find out soon enough. Well, I was getting 34 miles to the gallon on level ground, but climbing hills just a wee bit and passing all those slowpoke trucks, 30.4 mpg, which still isn't bad. We'll be taking a return trip later on in the video with more stable traffic and probably better fuel economy figures, so don't go away. We're going to take this off pavement and do some ranch patrolling. This is a pretty nasty road, lots of ripples that suspension and tires don't like, but actually we're doing pretty good here. I hear all the thumping, but the suspension is doing a pretty good job of sucking it up. Well, it appears we have about a foot of soft sand that wasn't here last week, and that's why we have the all-wheel drive. Then pray you don't get stuck. And just don't stop. I don't like walking. Oh, this does not look good. Okay, got out of that hurdle. Carry on. A lot of people are complaining because this Trailblazer with the Chevy logo is actually made in Korea, but they shouldn't, because the fact is the Korean car industry has come up in the world and making far better designs than many of the American and German designs. So the fact this is a Korean vehicle doesn't bother me at all. It really shouldn't bother you. They make some pretty good stuff. It looks like somebody rustled all the cattle, or they ran off somewhere. Not here. One thing I like about a compact SUV, its narrow width allows you to get on trails you couldn't get on with larger vehicles, as seen here. Well, Chevrolet says the Trailblazer is suitable for off-roading. Obviously it is, at least for light duty use, because as you can see, we're off-roading. It looks like the rats got into my chair. Oh well, let's check the refrigerator, see if there's any refreshments. Might be a snake in here. Ah, there we go. After taking this off-road, I'm figuring the best competition for the Chevy Trailblazer is the Jeep Renegade, which is basically a Fiat in disguise. I kind of lean towards the Trailblazer as being a better vehicle. On the other hand, the Jeep Renegade has an off-road package with skid plates, tow hooks, and all that stuff, which gives it slightly better off-road performance. But in all fairness, the tread on these particular tires, doing pretty good off-road. 255/60 R17s. And I'm told there is a skid plate under here to protect against rocks and other objects damaging the undercarriage. And let's see what we've got here. Well, there is a metal slab here offering some protection. The Trailblazer really isn't designed for serious off-roading, but for light-duty use, like we're doing here, more than adequate. As long as you keep in mind this is more of a car than a truck, and treated as such. Wow, look at the horns on that monster. He's a publicity hog. He's in almost every video I do when I come out here. Just waiting for me to bend over in front of those horns to get a good jab. Not gonna happen, buddy. What an ugly mug. I thought Halloween was over. We're coming to the end of our off-roading. We'll be hitting the freeway soon for a return freeway fuel economy trip. I'm going to pull over and see what the gas mileage was for our off-roading, which involved two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. Well, here you go, off-pavement driving with two-wheel drive and all-wheel drive combined, 31.4 miles, 24.6 mpg. I can't complain about that. We're going to take a return highway trip on a different route with calmer traffic and attempt to increase the fuel economy figure compared to what we got last time. So stay tuned. This vehicle has radar adaptive cruise control, which I cannot stand regardless of the vehicle it's put on. Fortunately, it's got an override. You set it for just typical manual cruise control. The old-fashioned kind that I like, so it's nice to have a choice. And I made mine by pressing the manual cruise control instead of the radar. Alright, we got 30.4 mpg going to and 32.8 mpg coming back. So let's say 30 to 33 mpg overall. I want to round it off, which seems reasonable enough to me. Nice day to have a picnic. Out in the middle of nowhere. If you know where this is, you want a booby prize. After a hard day in the desert, our little Chevy needs a bath. Nice and squeaky clean again. So what's my take on the Chevy Trailblazer after a week of driving? I don't have any complaints. It's very pleasant to drive. I was very surprised. Of course, I had the bigger engine and the 9-speed automatic transmission. I can't speak for the smaller engine and CVT, but it doesn't cost that much to upgrade to what I have, so just go ahead and get the better model. As far as value for the money goes, yeah, this one's loaded up with an awful lot of stuff for a price that's a bit higher than I would like, but if you get a model with just the basic, like air conditioning, stereo, a few knickknacks, you can get down to the mid-20s, and on a rebate year, maybe a little bit less. If you can find one of these at a decent price, it might be the vehicle for you. There's some video links to other little SUVs we've driven as of late. Just click and watch.